3 months ago, a client walked into my office and said 5 words that still give me chills. He had a whole other family. What she discovered at her husband's workplace wasn't just an affair, it was a psychological masterpiece of deception that had been running for 8 years. And the way she handled it? Well, let's just say karma has never been more calculated. For over 15 years, I've been helping people navigate the aftermath of betrayal. But every so often, a case comes along that challenges everything I thought I knew about human deception. Let's call my client Emma a 34-year-old marketing manager, married for 12 years with 2 beautiful children. Emma came to me initially for what she described as marriage anxiety. She felt disconnected from her husband, Mark, a supposedly dedicated sales manager at a tech company. She blamed herself, thinking maybe she wasn't being supportive enough of his demanding work schedule. The red flags were there, but they were so carefully orchestrated that even I, as a trained professional, might have missed them during those first sessions. Let me walk you through what we now know were carefully crafted lies. Mark worked late 3 nights a week, always Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. He attended mandatory team-building events every other weekend. His phone was always face down, and he'd developed this habit of taking calls outside, claiming his colleagues were loud talkers. But here's what made Mark's deception so psychologically sophisticated. He created what I call emotional anchors. He'd come home exhausted, complaining about his boss, sharing just enough workplace drama to seem authentic. He even brought Emma to one company party, though we now know it was actually a different company altogether. The most chilling part, he'd gaslight Emma's intuition. When she'd express concern about their relationship, he'd say things like, "You're being paranoid again." "I'm working so hard for our family." Classic manipulation technique, using their shared goals against her own instincts. The discovery happened on what should have been a normal Thursday. Emma decided to surprise Mark with lunch at his office, something she'd never done before because he'd always discouraged it, claiming his workplace was too chaotic. She arrives at the address she's had for 8 years. The receptionist looks confused. "Mark? We don't have any Mark working here." Emma's world starts spinning. She shows his business card. Wrong company logo. Completely different business. But Emma, and this is where her psychology training as a former social worker kicked in, didn't panic. She got strategic. She went to the actual company on his business cards. Different building, 20 minutes away. "Oh, Mark," the receptionist says cheerfully. "He's in the conference room with his wife and daughter for lunch." His wife and daughter. What Emma discovered next was beyond anything I'd seen in my practice. Mark wasn't just having an affair, he was living a complete parallel life. The other woman, Jessica, worked at his actual company. They'd been married for 6 years, not legally, but she believed they were common law partners. Their daughter was 5 years old. The psychological complexity here is staggering. Mark had created 2 completely separate identities. At home, he was the overworked provider. At his other home, he was the devoted partner who travelled frequently for work, which explained his absences from both households. But here's what makes this case unique from a psychological perspective. Mark wasn't a sociopath. During our eventual sessions, yes, he became my client too. We discovered he'd gotten trapped in a lie that spiraled beyond his control. The guilt was eating him alive, but his avoidance behaviors had become so entrenched that confessing felt impossible. However, understanding his psychology doesn't excuse the trauma he inflicted on 2 families. Emma's initial reaction was textbook betrayal trauma, what we call a psychological injury that affects your ability to trust your own perceptions. She questioned everything, every memory, every conversation, every moment of happiness from the past 8 years. But Emma had something many betrayal victims don't: a background in psychology and an incredible support system. Instead of destructive revenge, she planned what I call constructive retaliation, actions that serve justice while protecting her own psychological well-being. She documented everything. She contacted a lawyer. She reached out to Jessica not with anger, but with compassion, recognizing they were both victims of the same deception. Together, they confronted Mark in the most psychologically impactful way possible. They arranged for him to walk into his real office to find both families waiting for him. The cognitive dissonance of his two worlds colliding created what psychologists call an accountability moment, where denial becomes impossible. 6 months later, Emma has rebuilt her life with remarkable resilience. She and Jessica have become unlikely friends, supporting each other through divorce proceedings. Mark is in intensive therapy, working to understand how his avoidance patterns created such devastating consequences. The lessons here are profound. First, trust your instincts even when they're being systematically undermined. Second, the most dangerous deceptions aren't the obvious lies, but the carefully crafted half-truths. Third, healing from betrayal isn't about forgetting, it's about rebuilding your ability to trust wisely. I share these stories because by bringing these experiences to light, we create a community of awareness and healing. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Your engagement helps other women find these stories when they need them most. Support each other. And remember, seeking help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength.